D.Rose Sardine.
Yeah, bitch. Yeah, look, bitch.
Fuck Zico. Fuck both of the Jardels.
Fuck too.
Abir Sardine, or D.Rose as he also was called, is a former Black P Stone from Motown. His father was a big Motown member, so it was natural for D.Rose to join Motown as well. Unfortunately, D.Rose's father died sometime before 2009. Around 2010, D.Rose became a member of 600, but remained Stone until after Lil Steve's death, before flipping to a Black Disciple. D.Rose was widely respected across all Black Disciple sets. He likely had the most respect since Brew Brew from O Block. Once Chief Keef took off, and started shouting out D.Rose in his songs, many fans assumed he was behind several murders and shootings. But the rumors didn't come from just nothing. D.Rose began drilling after the death of Baldy from 600. D.Rose actually got his name from either Baldy, D-Thing or Lil Boo. The actual one is unclear. D.Rose was one of the first young 600 member to pick up a gun. D.Rose was affiliated with a lot of sets, basically the majority of the BD sets. He is an official 600 member, but he also claimed other blocks. He would often claim Motown where he originally was from, but he also claimed sets like THF 46, TYMB, O Block, Front Street, Lamron and THF 44. When THF 46 and TYMB started beefing, D.Rose remained loyal to both sets. He didn't switch or pick sides. D.Rose's street cred and reputation grew larger and larger once he began to do more in the streets. He was the most active member in 600 together with C-Day. As D.Rose became more active in the street and his reputation grew, he got into a lot of trouble with the law. It also didn't help that artists like Rondo No. 9 and Chief Keef referred him as a shooter in many songs. CPD was on this tail daily. D.Rose was known for sliding with all the sets he was cool with. For example, he rode with TYMB to do hits on Chris World and Drill City. He also rode with THF 44 to shoot up Princeton Mob, and was involved in the war between Motown and 50 Strong. Around 2011, Poo Poo from SMG rode with D.Rose several times and learned him how to do hits. At one point, D.Rose was one of the most feared gangbangers in the city. Whether it was GD, BD, East, North, South or West, his name rang bells because of the work he put in. Rose's face was enough to scare people. Back in 2012, when Taekwon World just claimed JoJo, them just seeing him slide through was enough to make them run. D.Rose had no mercy. At one point, Motown had a problem on their hands with some guys from No Love City, a guy named Peanut, and his cousin Lil Doc. They called D.Rose, and he got in traffic with Kokilla, Maintain, 50 Shot Mall, Dega, and G Muma. They spotted Lil Doc. D.Rose upped his gun and shot him to death. After already doing so much dirt in the year 2012, Rose got in traffic yet again, this time with Poo Poo, Kiki, and J Money, lurking through Brick Squad territory. They finally spotted Lil JoJo, who the BDs were looking for hard. They shot him off his bike and he was later pronounced dead. When Lil JoJo died, there were multiple rumors that D.Rose pulled the trigger. The day after JoJo was killed, KK, D.Rose and possibly L.A. Capone were in a video, mocking JoJo, and then the same week, D.Rose was actually brought in for questioning and KK was murdered. D.Rose then got out, but was shortly arrested yet again for the majority of 2013. Also, both Lamron and 600's block was shot up the same week after JoJo's death. D.Rose was back out on the streets in early 2014. Everybody hoped that they finally would get a chance to kill him before he could drop another body, but he got out and scored big 2 times. Big V and Lil Mark. Because of D.Rose being so active in the streets, it eventually caught up to him. In 2014, Big V from Taekwon World was killed in a hit done by Lil Loss from Front Street and D.Rose. However, CPD was not necessarily focused on arresting the other men who were involved in the Big V hit. CPD had been looking for a while after a golden opportunity to lock up D.Rose for good. Now they had found it. All it took was for one person to bring his name up, and CPD jumped on it immediately, because of the fact that they missed on booking him for killing Lil Mark. After CPD reported on the retaliation for Lil Mark coming against 600, as well as finding out that D.Rose set the van on fire afterwards, it made them frustrated. However, the person who snitched on D.Rose was not LJ from Taekwon World. I'm not going to say the name. Since then, D.Rose has been sentenced to 40 years in prison. He had been working on an appeal, but it recently got turned down. Everyone believes CPD had made a mistake and booked the wrong person unknowingly, but the truth to be told, even if CPD believed D.Rose had nothing to do with Big V's murder, they would have no problem booking him for it anyway. Convicting him for Big V was the only way to get him off the streets. CPD planned on doing the same operation on KI, but unfortunately, she was killed 2014. During the time he had been locked up, D.Rose have talked a bit with Tay 600 and some other 600 members. The relationship with 600 has otherwise been pretty bad, as D.Rose feels like they abandoned him. He responds to fans here and there who send him letters, and his family recently created a free D.Rose campaign.